My name is Fiona, and I'm in a happy relationship, no doubt about it. But every time I remember what I did, my conscience stings. It hurts even more because I actually enjoyed it while it lasted. I want to share my story as a warning to married people about the dangers of being too kind or too trusting. What happened to me may not happen to you, I hope it doesn't, but it could happen to someone you know. So, share this video if you can. I met my husband, Ben, in college. It was in the library, he was working on a term paper, and I was studying for a test. We sat across from each other, and I could feel him looking at me. I glanced up, and there he was, the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. He smiled, waved, and that's how it all started. Ben and I became inseparable. We did everything together, studied, hung out, and eventually moved in together after college. Not long after, Ben proposed and we got married in Paris, the city of love. It was perfect. Everything about Ben seemed perfect, too. His laugh, his looks, his intelligence, and especially his ability to satisfy me in ways that still make me smile when I think back. On our wedding night, we just held each other and slept, but at 3 a.m., Ben woke me with a kiss on the neck. It turned into a 3-hour session of passion, moving from the bed to the floor, the couch, the bathroom, and back to the bed. We spent the whole day in the hotel room, ordering food and making love. I had married the man of my dreams, and I truly believed nothing could ever come between us. But I was wrong. Life can surprise you in the worst ways. After we got married, life was good. Ben and I built our careers together, supported each other, and still found time for each other despite our busy schedules. We took vacations to dream destinations like South Africa and Italy, and I genuinely believed our love was strong enough to withstand anything. But things started to shift when Ben's cousin, Phillip, came back into the picture. Ben was an only child, but he and Phillip grew up together, almost like brothers. They were inseparable until college when Ben went to Yale and Phillip went to a community college. Over time, they drifted apart. Phillip didn't even attend our wedding, and Ben rarely talked about him. I heard rumors that Phillip had made a lot of money as a banker in Europe, living large with a supermodel wife. But one day, out of the blue, Phillip showed up at our doorstep, looking nothing like the man people described. He had lost everything. His wife had left him, taking most of his fortune with her. To make matters worse, he gambled away what little he had left. Now he was broke, homeless, and standing on our porch with nothing but a bag and a grin that gave me a bad feeling. Ben was irritated at first, but the bond they used to have overpowered his anger. Before I knew it, they were hugging, and Phillip was in our house, telling his sad story. Ben, without even consulting me, offered Phillip a place to stay. I was furious. For the first time in our marriage, I made Ben sleep on the couch. But it didn't matter. Ben had already made up his mind, and Phillip was moving in. From the start, Phillip was trouble. I could tell by the way he looked at me, like he wanted something more. He was too touchy, holding my hand a little too long when we were introduced, and there was always a glint in his eye that made me uncomfortable. I told Ben, but he brushed it off, saying I was just imagining things. Phillip staying with us changed everything. Ben started going out with him, coming home late and often drunk. Our dinners, date nights, and quiet moments disappeared. Slowly, I felt like I was losing Ben. He was there, but he wasn't really present anymore. I was left alone in the house, and Phillip, sensing the distance between us, started to make his move. He would flirt with me when Ben wasn't around, sometimes even when Ben was passed out drunk on the couch. At first, I resisted. I told him to stop. I even threatened to scream if he ever touched me. But Phillip was persistent. He knew Ben and I were drifting apart, and he kept pushing, waiting for me to break. And one day I did. It happened when I was home alone, cleaning the living room. I had music playing, an Usher song, Good Kisser. I was just swaying to the beat, feeling the rhythm, when suddenly I felt strong hands on my waist. I turned around, and there was Phillip, standing too close, that same smirk on his face. I didn't pull away. His touch was firm, and despite everything, it felt good. Before I knew it, his lips were on mine. His kiss was both soft and rough at the same time, and I was lost in it. I don't know how long it lasted, but the sound of Ben's car pulling into the driveway snapped me out of it. I pulled away and ran upstairs, shaking. I knew what had just happened was wrong, but in that moment, it felt like I couldn't stop it. Phillip had gotten what he wanted, he had cracked the door open. And even though nothing else happened that day, I knew it wouldn't be the last time. After that, I tried to avoid being alone with Phillip. But the more I stayed away, the more Ben seemed to drift, and the more Phillip tried to close the gap. And then came the day I had been dreading. Ben left town for a business trip, leaving me alone with Phillip for the whole weekend. I was terrified but also excited in a way I couldn't explain. At first, Phillip acted like nothing was going to happen. He kept his distance, which strangely made me want him more. I hated that feeling, but I couldn't deny it. And that night, just as I was getting ready for bed, he knocked on my door. I should have ignored it. I should have pretended to be asleep. But instead, I opened the door. Phillip stood there, shirtless, holding a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses. He didn't wait for me to invite him in, he just walked in like he owned the place. I knew what was coming, and I didn't stop it. We drank the wine in silence, the tension thick in the air. I could feel my pulse racing, my heart pounding as I handed him my empty glass. And then it happened. He pulled me close and whispered, "Where did we leave off?" I couldn't resist him anymore. We started kissing, and everything I had been trying to avoid came crashing down. His hands, his lips, they took over. We moved from the bed to the floor, to the walls, and back again. He was relentless, giving me more than I ever thought possible. I wish I could say it ended there, but it didn't. That night wasn't the last time. After that, I found myself drawn to Phillip, no matter how hard I tried to stay away. And as I got closer to him, I drifted farther from Ben. I thought I could hide it, keep it a secret, but the worst happened. I got pregnant. The news of my pregnancy hit Ben like a wave of joy. He was over the moon, imagining our future as parents. He became more attentive, started coming home early, and was completely devoted to me and the baby. It was the wake-up call our marriage seemed to need. Ben seemed to turn back into the man I had fallen in love with, the one I thought I had lost. But the truth was, I knew the baby wasn't his. And so did Phillip. Phillip didn't say anything outright, but he knew. We both knew. Yet we kept quiet. As my belly grew, so did my guilt. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living a lie, a double life that was bound to crash down at any moment. After almost a year of living with us, Phillip finally moved out. I think Ben and Phillip had a fight, though Ben never talked about it. They stopped speaking again, and I breathed a small sigh of relief, thinking maybe things could go back to normal. Ben was now fully focused on me and our soon-to-be daughter, and it seemed like we were finally putting our marriage back together. Our daughter was born, and she was beautiful. She brought a light back into our lives that had been missing for so long. But as she grew, it became clear she looked just like Phillip. She had his eyes, his smile, and no matter how much I tried to deny it, the resemblance was undeniable. Still, Ben never said a word. He doted on her, completely in love with our little girl, never once questioning if she was his. I thought maybe, just maybe, we had escaped the truth. For 3 years, we lived in peace. Ben and I found our rhythm again, raising our daughter and building a life that, on the outside, seemed perfect. But deep down, I was always on edge, waiting for the past to catch up with me. And then it did. Phillip came back. Out of nowhere, he contacted me, demanding to see his daughter. He didn't care about her at all, he just wanted to control me. He threatened to tell Ben everything if I didn't give him what he wanted. And what he wanted was me. He had always wanted me, and now he knew he had the power to get it. I felt trapped. I couldn't tell Ben the truth. It would destroy him, tear apart everything we had worked so hard to rebuild. So, I did the only thing I thought I could, I gave in. I went to see Phillip. 3 times. Each time I hated myself more, but I couldn't stop. Phillip had me in a grip I couldn't break free from. Every time I went to him, I felt like I was betraying Ben all over again. But Phillip didn't care. He didn't want a relationship with his daughter. He just wanted to prove he could still control me, still manipulate me. And I let him. I told myself it was for the sake of my marriage, for the sake of my daughter, but deep down, I knew that wasn't true. I was just too weak to stand up to him. But now it's tearing me apart. I don't want to go see him anymore. I don't want to keep living this double life. But I can't tell Ben. It would break him, break our family, and destroy the happiness we've fought so hard to regain. Phillip knows this, and he's using it to keep me under his thumb. He knows he has me where he wants me, and I feel powerless to stop it. I wish Ben had listened to me in the beginning. If he hadn't let Phillip into our home, none of this would have happened. Our marriage wouldn't be hanging by a thread, and my daughter wouldn't be the product of a lie. But I can't go back and change the past. I'm stuck living with the consequences of decisions I made when I was weak, and now I don't know how to break free. I'm supposed to see Phillip again today. I don't want to go, but I feel like I have no choice. I hate myself for doing this to Ben, for destroying the trust and love we built. But I can't tell him. If I do, it'll break him, and I can't bear to see that happen. I'm caught in a nightmare I can't wake up from. Phillip controls me, and I don't know how to take back my life. I love my husband and I love my daughter, but the guilt is killing me. I just wish there was a way out. I'm at a crossroads, unsure of what to do next. Phillip has a hold on me, and I feel trapped. Each time I meet him, it chips away at my soul, but I fear telling Ben the truth would destroy our family. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to break my daughter's world apart. But I also know I can't keep living this way, lying every day and giving in to Phillip's control. Phillip doesn't care about our daughter, and he certainly doesn't care about me. He only cares about the power he has over us. I've tried to convince myself that going to him will protect my family, but deep down I know it's a lie. It's only making everything worse. Today, I've decided that I'm not going to see Phillip again. It's time I take control back, even if it means risking everything. I don't know if I'll ever have the courage to tell Ben the truth, but I can't let Phillip keep pulling the strings in my life. I owe it to myself, to my daughter, and to Ben to break free from this toxic cycle. Your home is sacred. It's up to you to protect it, to guard it fiercely from any threats, even if they come from within. If Ben had listened to me when Phillip first showed up, none of this would have happened. But I didn't stand my ground either, and now we're all paying the price. I don't know what the future holds for me, or if I'll ever be able to come clean to Ben. But I know this much: I won't let Phillip control me anymore. Whatever happens next, I'll face it. I have to. I'm done living in fear, done letting guilt destroy me. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, or if you know someone who might benefit from hearing it, please share it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories and advice. Stay strong and protect your happiness.